If your knees constantly cave inward, what we call knock or valgus knees, and you've been given strengthening exercises but nothing seems to fix it, then this video is for you. A lot of people are told their knees cave in because certain muscles are weak. So they do endless strengthening exercises, but the knees keep caving in. That's because most approaches are addressing the symptom and not a root cause. In this video, I'll explain the biomechanics of valgus knees, why they occur, but also some exercises that you can start using today to start addressing it. First, let's talk about the knee joint. The most important thing to understand is that the knee is not a hinge joint like a hinge on a door, even though it's traditionally described as that. As the knee bends and straightens, it rotates. More specifically, this femur bone, the thigh bone, and the tibia bone, your shin bone, rotate relative to each other. So the biomechanics of a knee bend are that this tibia, the shin bone, will start internally rotating as we start bending the knee, and it will reach the most internally rotated position as we reach the 90-degree, and then it will externally rotate again as we approach this maximum bend. So we have this internal rotation to 90 and then external rotation of this shin bone again as we bend past 90 degrees. So another mechanism that's important to understand is that we straighten the knee completely. We will go into this screw home mechanism, which externally rotates this tibia bone on this femur. So as we straighten the knee completely, this shin bone here will externally rotate as we lock the knee out. So right away we can see something really important, and that is that the knee relies heavy on rotational mechanics. But here's the key concept. The knee itself is actually a pretty dumb joint. It doesn't really decide what to do on its own. Instead, it responds to what's going on below it and above it. Below it being the foot and ankle, and above it being the hip and the pelvis. If those segments are poorly positioned or lack some kind of range of motion, the knee will adapt and compensate. And that's exactly what happens with the knee valgus. So because of lifestyle, training habits, inactivity, or certain sports, the body assumes a common compensatory strategy, which is that our body center of gravity will start shifting further and further forward. When this happens, several changes occur in the body. The pelvis shifts forward. The pelvis almost opens up like a flower, which orients these hip sockets outward. The feet also go in the outward direction, turning out, and many people start loading the outside edges of their feet. In some cases, the opposite happens and people start loading their arches more and more until they collapse, but that's a topic for another video which you can find on my channel. So now we have the body that's shifted forward and oriented outward. But the body still needs to create some sort of internal rotation to stay upright and push into the ground. Because the pelvis, hips, and feet are all oriented outward, the internal rotation becomes very limited. So the body finds another place to create it, and that place is often the knee. So what typically happens in a valgus knee is this shin bone here, it's turning outward as this thigh bone, the femur, it's turning inward. This shin bone turning outwards creates a space on the inside of this leg for this femur to push into and generate force down into the ground. So now visually it looks the knee is collapsing inward. But the key point is that this is primarily not a muscle weakness problem. It's an alignment problem between the segments of the leg, especially this tibia and femur. And this alignment issue is largely driven from the forward center of gravity. Because this forward shift is such a big factor, I created a free 14-day email sequence where I send you one exercise each day to bring your center of gravity back and start addressing those issues. If you would like that, check the link in the description. So most traditional programs focus on strengthening the certain muscles, like a seated knee extension, for example, to get that inner quad to work. But the problem is that those exercises happen sitting down without any foot interaction with the ground. And when you stand, walk, or move, your body works as a connected system starting from the ground up. So strengthening a muscle in isolation doesn't translate to better alignment of those segments when you're standing up. To address this long term, we have to be able to restore proper rotations and range of motion throughout the system. Specifically, we want to restore this internal rotation of this tibia, internal rotation at the hip, but also get the foot to move in order to contribute to that motion. If the segments below and above the knee start internally rotating, the knee doesn't have to compensate anymore. So we'll start with some mobilization exercises to get the hip, knee, and foot to move again, and then translate that into a more controlled exercises under load to keep that position, since this is what happens during real movement. So because we want this foot to conform to the ground and this heel to internally rotate, we're gonna start with this exercise with this lacrosse ball. I'm gonna place a lacrosse ball underneath the base of my big toe here. I'm gonna put the light pressure down into the ball, and I'm gonna roll the ball from my big toe towards my inner heel along this inner portion of my arch, slowly relaxing the foot into the ball. When I reach my inner heel, I'm gonna let go of the down pressure and return back, only working from the big toe towards the heel, right there, stopping here, returning back. I'm gonna do this for 4 to 5 minutes. What I can then do, I can self-mobilize this heel bone into internal rotation. So I wanna move this part of the heel away in that direction. So I'm gonna, in this case, I'm doing it on my right leg. So I'm gonna cross my leg right here, and I'm gonna grab my right heel with my left hand, and I'm gonna just push down, and with my right hand I'm gonna get my arch and I'm gonna hold it in position. So I'm pushing this down as I'm holding my arch right there, and just holding this for about 10 sets of 10-second holds. So after I did that, I can go and mobilize this shin bone inward. And I like this ab mat mobilization the most. So I'm gonna be grabbing an ab mat, and I'm gonna be, in this case, I'm doing it on my right side. So I'm gonna aim for the corner so the down slope is to the right. I'm gonna place the knee in this corner with my shin bone heavy, and as I put the pressure down, the down slope will allow my weight and the ab mat to mobilize my shin bone inward, and I'm gonna be staying about 90 degrees bend at hips and knees, staying here, keeping the whole body weight on this shin bone, and the ab mat is mobilizing it inward. I'm just gonna rock back and forward slightly, so I'm getting that knee to move as that shin bone is getting turned inward. I'm gonna do that for 4 to 5 minutes. Then I can go for the mobilization that is gonna turn the top of my thigh bone, the femur, inward. So I'm gonna start on my right sit bone here, and I'm just gonna scoop all the way to the left of the foam roller until my sit bone actually drops down from the foam roller. And as I do that, I'll feel the foam roller press on the back side of my hip, wanting to turn my leg inward like that. I'm gonna stay here, and I'm gonna reach my left arm towards the right toes. I'm gonna bring the right toes and the foot up until I feel some of the shin muscles at the front of my shin engage, and I'll take my breaths here. Inhale through my nose, exhale through my mouth, feeling the pressure coming from the backside of my hip, turning the leg inward. And I'm gonna hold that for 4 to 5 minutes as well. Now that these segments can move again, we have to train the body to hold that position while the foot interacts with the ground. So now I want to start incorporating this hip, knee, and foot alignment with this inner heel heavy and the front of the shin muscles working, and this is a great exercise to start. So I'm going to start in a half kneeling position, and I'm just going to open the backside hip out so I turn my zipper away from this lead leg. From here, I'm going to keep this hip, knee, and foot in line, looking something like that. What I don't want to see is this. So now I want to start activating the same muscles at the front of the shin I used in a previous exercise to pull my foot up. And a good tell that you have those is this tendon right here popping out. So now I'm going to keep this hip knee foot in line with this heel heavy, and I'm going to just translate this knee over without this muscle coming off, but I'm actually using this muscle to pull my knee forward as I keep heel heavy throughout. Pushing back, keeping alignment, going over the foot and back. I'm gonna do this 3 sets of 15 reps. After I did that, I'm gonna go in this wall supported fencer position. This exercise is great to get the inner quad working while keeping the hip, knee, and foot in line and inner heel heavy. So I'm going to start in this wide position with my right foot really close to the wall. My outside of the right knee is on the wall, and I'm keeping my base of the big toe and base of the pinky toe on the ground while this inner heel is heavy. I'm just gonna start here and lower down in this position. I'm still turned relatively away from this leg, and as I get here, I wanna keep the heel heavy and I wanna translate the knee over with my right butt cheek coming closer to the heel. I wanna keep the heel heavy as this knee is going forward, and I wanna keep the knee on the wall. You should be feeling a lot of activation in this inner quad. I'm gonna take an inhale here, and as I exhale, I'm gonna push into the ground through the inner heel to get back up into the standing position. So with this exercise, I'm really untwisting the knee, getting that control. So again, lowering down, inner heel heavy, knee into the wall, translating over, inhaling here, exhaling, pushing into the ground with the straight knee. So hopefully after watching this video, you understand that knocked knee is not a knee problem or a muscle weakness problem. More often it results on how the bones and segments of the leg align. And when we restore the proper alignment of that foot, shin, thigh, and hip, the knee no longer has to compensate. And because flat feet are very often correlated with that valgus knee, check out this video where I explain the connection and how to start fixing it.